So the safety aspect is at the highest. That's my biggest thing in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu's so rough, especially no gi. And I don't think gi's not rough. I think gi's just as rough. I just feel like sometimes people come in jiu-jitsu with this gentle art really big in their heads. And that's more of a slogan.
Welcome to Forever White Belt. I'm your host, Adolfo Foronda. And today on the show, we have a true BJJ prodigy with us, none other than first degree 10th planet black belt, Marvin Castelle. Marvin originally hails from Flint, Michigan, and his journey into the world of jiu-jitsu began at the age of 16, fueled by his passion for MMA. Fast forward a decade, and he has achieved his first degree black belt under the guidance of the legendary master Eddie Bravo at the 10th Planet headquarters in California. But that's not all. John Jacques Machado has played a significant role in shaping his grappling style, making Marvin a force to be reckoned with on the competition and superfight scene. He's known for his prowess in the three-quarter guard position and his remarkable Eminari sweep, which has garnered him fame and recognition among BJJ aficionados. Let's not forget his deadly Estima lock. Marvin now runs Dark Arts Academy in Torrance, California. His academy is unique in that it offers Samba and puts a huge emphasis on movement classes. They also use a unique belting system, which you will hear about more in the episode. You may have heard about Marvin's Dark Arts seminars. No, it's not just about leg locks. It's a drill-based understanding of no-gi jiu-jitsu. At these intensive camps, you can expect to hone your skills, improve your timing, and flow through your techniques. And with that, I give you Marvin Castelle. Marvin, welcome to the show, man.
Yes, sir. It's glad to be on.
So, Marvin, you are a black belt first degree under the legendary Eddie Bravo, right?
Yes, sir. Master Eddie is awesome.
Marvin, I'm such a big fan. I've seen so much of your evolution since a lot of the early days at HQ meaning headquarters for listeners out there of 10th Planet in Los Angeles. So now you have your own academy, Dark Arts Academy, correct?
Yes, 10 Planet Dark Arts Academy. We are located in Torrance, CA, right off PCH.
You're from Flint, Michigan originally, correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
What was that like and what brought you to Los Angeles?
I was born in California, in Culver City, California. I call it living the Sunny D life. I was living the best life ever, sunshine every day, hanging with my friends, skateboarding. I never skateboarded in my life. Then my mom ended up getting a GM job in Michigan. So we just, packed our things, said our goodbyes, and we ended up moving to Flint, Michigan. I've never heard of Flint, Michigan, but I know I remember going around the neighborhood when I got there, and I had like a yellow shirt on with like shorts, and I ran into like the first kid I ran into, and he was like, dude, you got to change it up right now. You are like a walking target right now. You don't look like you're from here. And I was just like, oh, really? It's like that? And he was like, oh, yes, it's like that. From that day, my life changed dramatically. And I had to definitely become a chameleon. I had to, really change to my environment, or it could be dangerous. So Flint, Michigan was just, it was a cold, tough place. You know what I'm saying? And the people were amazing, though. But the place, the area, the environment, it was definitely tough. And, the stories you hear are crazy. The more Flint water situation, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't drink too much faucet water as it is. I definitely was a bottled water drinker, but we showered in it. So I'm probably a victim of it as well. But I definitely think that explosion of a situation exploded once I left. And it was a big surprise to me as well.
What was the tipping point for you to leave Michigan?
I was doing MMA, and I ended up having 2 MMA fights, and it was like underground, backyard. You're not supposed to be doing MMA fights type stuff at an MMA gym. That everyone was great, but I didn't have the funds to necessarily, train. So he said, hey, man, if you fight for us, if, you clean around the gym, you be a gym rat, hey, you could train. So I ended up training Muay Thai, wrestling, jiu-jitsu with these guys, and end up getting ready for a fight. I ended up winning both these fights by triangle, but I had such a fist fight standing, and like I ended up breaking my fingers,
Wow.
Yeah, and
for you people listening, Marvin just showed his fingers like going off to, they're almost like an arc. They're almost arcing like a banana.
And I thought to myself, man, I'm breaking my fingers and my hands so early in my career. This is probably not the sport for me. You got to come to face with it. But I did notice, damn, I did sub these guys. I did catch a triangle, and I don't train triangles that much, but the fact that I did catch that, I might be really good at jiu-jitsu. Long story short, my mom ended up catching cancer, or she already had it once I was born. She ended up passing, and it was like a big depressive state for me and my brother and my sister. And I had dogs. I was a dog breeder at the time that my mom was helping me with, so we had a lot of puppies that were still on the ground, and we started to sell them all off. And I just told my brother, like, look, this seems like you're gonna have to go back to where you live, and my sister's gonna have to go back as well, and I don't want to be in this big house by myself, so I'm gonna have to move on. So I just obviously called my family in California, and I said, I'm gonna end up moving back, guys. I want to be around family. This is not the time to be the little emo kid and just seclude myself. And that situation definitely pushed me to move back to California.
So you come to California, and I'm probably jumping ahead. You're working some sort of job, and it just so happens that this 10th Planet place, you're right close to your job. Is that correct or no?
Dude, like literally, I was a vet tech assistant. Before that, though, I was working at like any type of animal facility. So like I was working at a dog boarding place where I was like the assistant dog handler in a big park. And on my breaks, I used to, go get something to eat, and I noticed that there was like 10th Planet down the street, and I was like, oh my God, I've been watching Eddie Bravo since I literally started jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, is he really there? You know what I'm saying? I was so shocked. And I eventually went up there with my aunt because I didn't necessarily know the area. And I just didn't want them to seem like I was like, because I wasn't a citizen of California yet. So I was definitely like a newbie. So I brought my aunt up there to kind of just like, my spokesperson. Oh, yeah, he's a good kid.
Yeah. Vouch for you?
Yeah, just vouch for me a little bit. And I ended up meeting Curtis Hembroff. This is like my brother. 10th Planet Austin black belt. Shout out to 10th Planet Austin and my family. I talked to Curtis, and we really vibed out. We clicked immediately. And, I did a class, and we ended up going to the top of a building, and we were out there on the top of the building, kind of like drinking beers, smoking a little bit, just kind of vibing. I was like my first time hanging with anybody in California. He was talking to me like, man, you got a lot of skill. You got a lot of potential. And I'm like, dude, this is like my first day. Do you really see that? Like, I didn't really see this to that extent. And he was saying, man, if you really take this serious, 6 to 7 years, me and you could be black belts, and we'll have our own gyms. And I'm just like looking at this guy. I'm like, dude, you're from Alaska, and I just met you. I feel you, but are you serious? And he was dead serious. And I just took him up on his offer. I was like, all right, let's do it. And and that's how I became a part of 10th Planet.
There's something to be said about having a vision. You know what I mean,
dude,
and just walking towards that.
Man, it's powerful. I do talk to my students a lot about visualization. I feel like that's the key to my competition success. Just, visualizing myself up there, visualizing me winning, visualizing me going through trauma in the match. I love that part of the game, and I'm excited to get back. Don't worry, I'm not done, guys.
You had a very unique style, it seems like, from the get-go.
Oh, yeah, man. I definitely feel like I had a very submission-based style. Definitely, I gravitated toward like just movement after movement. Like I tried to master every movement that I was told to get good at. So like my first good move was probably my Marcella team. That was like my main. Like, I felt like I could tap anybody. It didn't matter the rank. If I touched your neck and you gave me it, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I could take you out. And I learned that power early.
Yeah, you were doing this at white belt. You were winning competitions and people with that one.
Yeah, and it was surprising, so powerful that I actually understood it more than other people. Because there were so many guys in jiu-jitsu that were better than me. And they were so good. It used to frustrate me on why didn't these guys get out there and test themselves? The fact that they didn't showed me in my head that I had to. I had to get out here and test this ability that we're training, where we're training high-level jiu-jitsu with Eddie Bravo. We could do damage. But, I mean, that was another really big part of jiu-jitsu that I learned that, man, everybody's not in this for the same reason.
What do you mean by testing themselves? Exactly. Give me an example.
I just felt like that's like hitting the bag for, 4 months or 2 months and then starting to hit the pads. And then, it's time to spar and you don't spar. How do you know these movements really work if you're not going to try them out in a real fight scene? It's just like to each into their own. You know what I'm saying? Like some people want to know how they would do. And then some people really don't want to know. And I definitely feel like as my goal as a teacher is I want to be able to break you out of that shell. Because like if you're there for self-defense, it's going to come a time where someone's going to try to test you. If you don't necessarily react in the right way or proper way, it could be even more dangerous to you. That's why I feel like, we should be doing jiu-jitsu for a reason. We should have a purpose to it. I love the community. I love the people. But I definitely feel like we should be doing this for ourselves as well and for our families to protect those people as well,
What's piqued your interest as of late, jiu-jitsu wise?
Really just trying to learn from other people to try to build this graceful jiu-jitsu community. That's kind of been on my head. My community is really nice, great community. All my students they have great manners. I'm not the most sincerest coach. That's what I've learned for myself. Off the mats, I'm the nicest guy ever. On the mats, my passion burns. It burns.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about this because I've heard you mention this before, that you have a lot of passion about your students or something. I wasn't clear on what that meant exactly. It sounded like there was some intensity there and being hard, or I wasn't sure how I was interpreting that.
My style of jiu-jitsu is definitely like, all right, we're here to get it done. I definitely want to jump on the way I run my system. So the safety aspect is at the highest. That's my biggest thing in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is so rough, especially no gi. And I don't think gi's not rough. I think gi's just as rough. I just feel like sometimes people come in jiu-jitsu with this gentle art really big in their heads. And that's more of a slogan. So when I say, my passion burns, it's just like, as soon as we start our class, when you meet me, I'm like, what's up guys? Hello, I'm Sensei Marvin. You are now in movement class, right? Up in my system, we have a movement class. That's our first novice class. I call it part 0 because I feel if you don't know the moves of jiu-jitsu, it's going to be 10 times harder to learn the movements, and the transitions and the emotion that goes into these things. So I break down from A to Z basic movements in jiu-jitsu that we do all the time. And this class builds the confidence, the cardio, the ability to move for jiu-jitsu before they even get to jiu-jitsu. So when they get to jiu-jitsu class, they don't have a problem with the warm-ups. They're not nervous. They're not unconfident. No one's holding them back. They're not looking around trying to understand what the movement is because they already understand it. Right. So when they feel embarrassed, that's a big sign that students will quit. So I'm trying to avoid all those moments where they're going to feel embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? But still keep a strict hand. All right, guys, I always want everyone to know what they're doing because we're explaining it. Right. So once we get out of movement class and we get to jiu-jitsu class, this is pretty fast paced now. We're not going to be really talking about shrimping in the real jiu-jitsu class. We're going to be talking about actually attacking and defending. I feel like the transition from movement class to jiu-jitsu has been so smooth for me, and it makes me have to teach less. Sometimes I feel like as teachers, we overteach. We literally do. We have to go through the movement, the terminology, the history sometimes, because people want to know. I feel like if we could break those classes down, then we can get to the nitty gritty a little bit sooner.
It seems to be a trend right now with Greg Souders, this other coach, and everything in terms of your students' kind of self-discovery process without a lot of instruction, without a lot of teaching.
Yeah, I do like the ecological approach. I learned about that after I kind of started my movement class, but I definitely study on it, and I definitely like it, and I like the videos that they do on it. Sometimes it is a little confusing for me because the student has to know something. He has to know something to be able to do some of those games. You know what I'm saying? Or you're going to cause injury. Those ACL injuries, those are real deal. He has 10 G's in the bank. In my school, I'm always telling people, look, guys, we're not trying to take all the L's. We're not trying to take all the L's. Trust me, guys. I want you to be able to go home and have a great time at jiu-jitsu. And I always inform my students in the beginning, coach is going to be on your ass because there's not a rush, but there is a pace to the learning because I don't want you to feel like you're slowing people down. So that's why we're going to always stay focused so we could stay on that path, stay on that good pace. And my movement class, there's no pace. We're just moving through our movements. It's smooth. It's easy. People are I call my students, the new ones, the baby birds. They're just learning how to walk. You know what I'm saying? And it's hilarious. I actually have so much fun in that class because it's amazing when somebody can do a Granby in 1 month. You know how long it takes people to Granby? 2 years. Easy. So all my students could Granby, and I always give them a hard time. I was like, you know how many black belts I know who cannot Granby? That's a problem. All the students want to see all those inversions and entries, and that takes a lot on your neck and shoulders. And I definitely want to be able to perform every movement that my students ask. We're on this level. I do want to be able to perform those movements. And Eddie's taught me that even if I don't play a game, I could teach it and my students could literally play it better than me. Eddie doesn't play, he hates leg locks. He hates leg locks. And I'm one of the biggest leg lock guys in the world. You know what I'm saying? Eddie loves rubber guard. And I hated rubber guard as a white belt and a blue belt. But they told me, like, look, you want to be a 10-planet black belt? You got to have some 10-planet black belt rubber guard. That stuck with me. I actually appreciate my coaches, Scott Ross. Shout out to 10 Planet Ventura and Eddie Bravo just for like putting initiative on me. No, I want you to get your rubber guard together and not sugarcoat it. And I really appreciate that because it evolved me. It evolved me. It made me meet up with Jeremiah, rubber guard master, and we became brothers. Shout out to 10 Planet Santa Barbara, Jeremiah Vance and all his students. These guys are amazing, man. You know, and Jeremiah evolved me. It showed me how to be a real team player. And I still feel like I have issues being a team player now as a black belt. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes being a black belt, you're like this head of in charge all the time. So when it's time to take a seat back, it's hard sometimes, you know? That's why I love like black belt roles. Because they put you in your place. That's one of my favorite things about jiu-jitsu. It's like, man, like now being at the black belt level and just having those black belt roles and just get all my ego shoved right back in my face. That's something I do appreciate.
I got questions about the warm-up then. I know Eddie allows each place to sort of now customize, do your own thing, do 10th Planet traditional warm-ups or not. A lot of the 10th Planet black belts that I've been talking to, some do, some don't, some modify it for themselves. Where are you at in terms of like 10th Planet warm-ups?
In my system, guys, I go from movement class, then we go to dark arts warm-ups, right? So dark arts warm-ups for me are just like the 10 planet warm-ups, but more basic because the 10 planet warm-ups can get really dynamic, right? So dark arts warm-ups are guard retention, passing, sweeping, wrestling, leg locks. And we go through the same setup every day. And then obviously I go through some techniques, some defense, some live drills, some sparring. From that class, you go on to game plan class, where you actually go to class and you game plan for what we're going to do in the sparring. And that's the same lineup, you know, guard retention, sweeping, but they're obviously more advanced. The movements, right? And the concepts. From game plan class, these are the same classes, but game plan class is Monday and then escape class is Wednesday. Because a lot of students are always complaining about being stuck in side control, being stuck in mount, being stuck in the back. I'm like, all right, buddy, you're stuck in those positions. I understand. How about you get to escape class? I think it's about time for you to get to escape class. Some students love escape class. You know what I'm saying? And I really appreciate it because sometimes it's so much in jiu-jitsu. There's so much, right? So I just try to break it down for topics. So we could talk about that topic, right? And how it connects to jiu-jitsu, right? So then after escape class, now you can get to wrestling or Samba, whatever type of stand-up you like. And then we get to 10 Planet warm-ups. Because these are complicated, right? Like I'm saying, like once you get to 10 Planet warm-ups, I'm firing these techniques at you. I do the 10 Planet warm-ups, just like how Eddie says, but I do always put my dark arts twist on it. Like we don't do the same exact setups all the time. So I'm always going to put the way I do things onto it. Because every warm-up in 10 Planet warm-ups, I've got a little flavor in. And I'm like, you know what? If I didn't like it in the warm-up, I'll probably take it out. Like if there's a transition I thought wasn't really hitting hard, I'll take it out. But for the most part, it's really the same.
You know, that's really unique. One of the things that you brought up that sort of I remembered is that you do have a Samba program and also your curriculum. I'm so curious how it evolved from you opening the academy to like today, your curriculum, and why a Samba class? Where did that come from?
When I was a brown belt, me and my purple belt, and when I was a black belt, me and my brown belt, we actually went to some Sambo training camps. And we had a great time. It was amazing. It was so much fun. Shout out to Riley Bodycomb. He's an animal, and he's a great instructor as well. Very friendly guy. And I mean, he just showed us a new art. I've always been a fan of Sambo. I'm not going to even lie to you. The first movement, like brutal submission I've ever seen, was a Sambo guy do a rolling omoplata, like crack a guy's shoulder. And I think I was hooked on jiu-jitsu right after that. Because obviously it was Sambo, but that movement, omoplata, was a jiu-jitsu movement. You know, I've always just been a fan of the art. I actually had a few friends that did Sambo, so I connected with them to find a guy. Shout out to my one of my students and Coach Sergey. And I think it's great, dude. I think the students are happy that they have something that a lot of gyms don't have. Literally, you'll see like my students who go to wrestling consistently at my gym, like in my classes, since my classes are a little bit, you know, mixed level and a little bit higher. I do teach my beginner movement class, but I usually teach my comp classes in mixed level. In my classes, even if you don't wrestle, we have one wrestling round during sparring. So we have 2 minutes of you just wrestling. There's no jujitsu. I tell guys, hey man, I know you want to stand up. I know you're nervous too, but let's just get after it. You have it at the gym. You're not necessarily being charged more to do it. I feel like the students like it a lot. I feel like I didn't get to stand up a lot as in my jujitsu career, because we were just a bottom game jiu-jitsu school. And, we just do jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of jiu-jitsu to do besides wrestling. Obviously I did have takedowns from MMA, and I still use them to this day. But I definitely feel like it's changed the dynamic of my program, because like now guys are doing throws. Now guys are spinning for knee bars and spinning for calf slicers, the Samba style. And now the students have to worry about that. And then I have to keep the safety high, you know what I'm saying, as well when you're doing these techniques. But I think it's amazing, dude. I think it's so cool. I wish I had a Sambo program when I was a white belt.
One of the details that I've seen about you, like when you teach, and one thing that really resonated with me is you do this thing where you I don't know if you make your students, but they repeat what you're saying when you're showing a technique, right? So you could say something like, I grab his arm, and then they all say, grab his arm, or something like that.
Usually when it's okay, so if we're like passing the guard, right? So I'm gonna be like, all right, we're gonna Toriando pass. Let me hear it. They'd be like, Toriando pass. So they know where we're at. A lot of students like to do their own thing and make up their own stuff. And like that will get you hurt once we go live, because you're not listening necessarily to the coach, and you're throwing your partner off as well. So if he lands on you the wrong way, you weren't reacting the right way. And I'm trying to lower that threshold of just everyone getting hurt all the time. Safety is the key to my gym, literally. Like, my rules are all on the wall. Most gyms hate to put up rules. I love rules. It keeps guys in line. And like, maybe it does turn students away, but my students know they're safe. The biggest bully in the gym is me. I tell the students all the time, I'm not going to let a guy bully you. I'm going to be the guy on you about just, let's stay accountable. I don't want your teammate here not having a good time because you're not listening. Let's stay accountable for each other. We're a community. We're here together. I just feel like the rules show people that we are in line. We are organized. We're not going to lie to you or anything like that. We're going to keep it 100 with you. And that sometimes pushes a lot of people away too. Us being so upfront, and not telling students necessarily what they want to hear.
You might not be the product for them, right?
Exactly,
What I appreciated about the repeating process, though, is for those of us that have attention issues, you locked us back in.
Exactly. And that's funny that you bring that up. Actually have a brown belt. Shout out to my brown belt, Donovan. He always talks about his attention issues. Always to me. And I'm like, dude, I feel like you actually listen really well. I mean, I do give him a hard time on details. I'm like, dude, you did this so sluggish. But when you seen it, it was so sharp. Think about the intention behind it. When Allen Iverson is doing his movements, is he sluggish? He would get the ball snatched away from him immediately. And I just try to put the intensity and the urgency in the way I'm teaching with the students. So when they're out there, they're like, dang, this is aggressive. This is rough. And I'm like, exactly. Oh, just like Coach Marvin said, man, it's going to be rough out here. I want them to expect the toughness, because if they don't, man, it's so hard to come back from getting beat up. Students really take that hard. I've lost students just from like them bringing a tough friend in. And I tell guys like, hey man, you bring your NFL friend inside here and he starts doing jiu-jitsu, he's going to get good fast. And he might start beating you up. And that means you got to get good too. And I've lost students just from little exchanges like that.
Just a reminder to please give us a 5-star review on Apple Music and Spotify, and become a VIP member for only 99 cents a month. Get ad-free episodes at anchor.fm/foreverwhitebelt/subscribe. And check us out on Instagram at Forever White Belt Show. Go buy your Forever White Belt swag at teespring.com/forever-white-belt. Check us out on YouTube now at Forever White Belt. Finally, if you ever get to beautiful Northern California, please come roll with us at North Bay Jiu-Jitsu in Marin County, just north of San Francisco. They're amazing instructors and everyone there are great people. Mention the podcast and get 2 weeks free. What makes a great jiu-jitsu student?
A kid who comes in the gym and he greets everyone. If the sensei is like on the mats coaching, he's like, hey, what's up? He at least gives you some love. He says hello to the front desk. When he sees everybody around, he greets people, Even if he's not a really open person, he opens himself up to his gym. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so stretching himself.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Trying to open yourself up and just be a bigger, better you. then once you're on the mats, obviously you can bow to the mats. You don't have to, I just bow to the mats because that's just me. When they're moving and they're drilling, they put effort into their movement and drilling. Me, I'm a hard ass when it comes to like, let's drill, let's do it correctly, and let's get the benefit. But most of the students that kind of gravitate to me are just kind people. Sometimes my heatness could still burn them away. Me being so hot-headed, and a very serious coach, like that can still turn them away. But a lot of my students are very friendly, and I love the students who break down the movement to their partner no matter how much they mess up. I love the students who do that, and they can do it in any way they want. If it's aggressively, sure. If it's nice, sure. If it's with a dull face, sure. But I love the fact that they keep reassuring their partner. Most of my students are like, they're similar to me in the aspect where if they're like mentoring this guy, like grabbing his hands, putting him in the positions, they'll tell the guy like, look, dude, I can't do this for you. Or look, miss, I can't do this for you. You're going to have to do most of this yourself. All I can do is help you. And I love when they keep people accountable. That's something that's like really big in jiu-jitsu that a lot of people in jiu-jitsu don't do because we're all weird. We all have our emotions. We don't want drama. No one wants drama. But if you see this person every day and they're constantly doing the same thing every day, it's eventually going to affect you. So I just feel like we should communicate as much as possible. And I think a good student communicates with everyone, the coaches, the other students, he communicates about what he dislikes as well.
You have a unique belt system you posted recently on your IG, I saw, and I asked for some clarification. You changed the belt system custom for dark arts. Can you talk about the colors of the belts and what do they mean to you and your students?
With me, it starts off with like blue belt is where people quit. At no gi or gi, judo or taekwondo. It's all ranks. So it's like, I feel like blue belt nowadays, blue belts are training 4 days a week, 5 days a week. Old or young, they're actually really good. And they love jiu-jitsu. They have a fiery passion about it. For me, I feel like blue belt, it comes up a little too fast. Personally, because there's such a broad dynamic of blue belt. Oh, this guy did MMA. Oh, this guy did, wrestling for 5 years. You know what I'm saying? So for me, like, I hated that everyone quit at blue belt. That was my biggest issue with jiu-jitsu. And then I hated the concept of white belt. You're a white belt. This guy's just a damn white belt. I hated those little mantras because that did not make white belts feel welcome or happy. Maybe it's funny the first time, but eventually down the line, it's going to get under their skin. So at my gym, we have a gray white belt. The belt is literally gray and white.
When they start?
Yes.
From day one?
Exactly. So like a gray white belt for me is like, you're there to master your emotions once it comes to like your movements and your cardio. Getting in shape for jiu-jitsu. And that's what like movement class is about. Getting in shape for jiu-jitsu is a big thing. And that's another part of kind of like slowing people down and then feeling bad about it that I dislike. So if people let me, some students do, some customers don't, but once they do meet a kid that does movement class and then he does jiu-jitsu class and they're like, man, this kid is so much better than me, I'm going to be like, dude, he's not necessarily better than you. He just has his foundation together. That's really all it is. And for me, they start at gray white, and once they get to, can you tap a solid gray? So their next would be solid gray belt. I was a vet tech, so I'm an animal guy. I correlate them by animals. So like I start with my baby birds. They just hatched. They can barely walk. They can barely front roll. It's amazing. Once they get from their baby bird stage, they get into their gray wolf stage. All right. So now gray wolf, this is a wolf pack now. Now we're fighting all the time. You're going to be scrapping all the time. I'm going to be anybody walk in the gym. I'm throwing you at them immediately. Gray wolf status. You got to so-called lead the pack. And they're going to be demonstrating movements in front of people, so they got to get their nerves together. They got to know their terminology. They got to know the movements. And they got to be such a friendly spirit on the mats. I don't want people scared of the gray belts. I want people to admire them. Like, man, he's so nice. And that's something that they all do have. They know they're tough. But now you got to make everyone else tough, and not everyone else is tough. You know what I'm saying? And that's where they come in and they kind of big brother everybody. Any white belt that has a problem, oh, yo, I'm going to put you with the gray wolf. I'm going to put you one of my gray wolves. And that's when people are like, man, I get to work with the gray wolf. Oh, dang. He mentors them when I cannot, especially when I'm on the mats, right? So from gray white to gray belt, And then after gray belt, they go into their blue belt, same as normal, right? And then from blue belt, they go to blue black. For me, I do blue black because I don't really like the stripes. I'm not really a big stripe guy because that big purple is real deal. You're getting thrown in matches with black belts now, you know, when you're a purple belt. So like, I just want to give them another bar to say like, let's get over this bar too. You know what I'm saying? You're about to step up to that big purple belt. There's no turning back after you hit to that big purple belt, you know? And it's the same thing once they get to their purple, right? They're big purple belt now. They're going to go purple black, right? This is just like the gi. I did gi for like 3 years too. I love the gi ranking system as well. You know, it slows people down. There's not a rush. You're going to get good, but there's not a rush to get to black belt. You know what I'm saying? So from purple, they go purple black. From brown, they go brown black, and then they get their black belt.
I've heard you mention before that these guys are killers, but they just don't want to compete. I'm just not the type of guy to pressure people to compete. Your advice to those, they are killers, you know, in the gym, and maybe they have some interest, a little bit of interest in competing, but maybe they're hesitant to do so, or those that don't. Do you still feel the same way or what?
I still kind of feel the same way. Like in my gym, I just put a lot of accountability, and I feel like maybe it does turn people away, but I feel like, you know, that's what you're here for. You're here for discipline. You're here to get into shape and be disciplined about something you do. You know, when people are late to my gym, all right, 10 sprawls, you were late. Exactly. You just kind of interrupted class. 10 sprawls. All right, for sure. Right. And like, I do in-house competitions, and I do try to coax everyone to do it just because they're getting so good. Why don't you show yourself and your team that you are getting so good? Sometimes if like, I feel like people are kind of like having a problem with it, I'll just be like, look, you know, you don't have to do the competition. It's all right. Just give me 25 sprawls. Cause like, this is just a pillar. Like when your coach asks you to do something and you deny him, right? All right, that's fine. You know, give me 25 sprawls. That's cool. But like, when promotions come around, you can't be all, man, coach, hey, why didn't I get promoted? Oh, you'd be like, oh yeah, remember I asked you to do that thing, you know, that I really thought you could do and I knew you could do it, but you denied me, right? There's your issue right there. Eddie's asked me to do things. Yes, sir. Just because like he's making him so vulnerable to ask me to do something is huge. That's a connection between you and your coach that I don't think you should miss out on. But for people who don't want to compete, I feel like in my gym, I'm still going to be going hard on you like it's competition in the gym. You know, that's just the way I roll. I roll hard. So, but I'm technical. I'm never going to blast anyone or hurt anybody, but I'm going to make it seem like I am. And I'm going to make you feel like your leg's going to blow off. But I'm never going to actually hit the gas because I already know what that's like. In competition, that's what it's like, right? But I just feel people should always try to test themselves. Show yourself that you're not the same person 5 years ago, 2 years ago, a day ago. You feel so much better. I swear. Getting out there and proving to yourself that you could do it. Oh man, it feels so good. And you start to get addicted to it. You don't got to become a world champion, but just to test yourself, that is so powerful for me as a teacher to see. But I don't really trip. If a student doesn't want to do it, hey, give me 25 sprawls. It's all good. Cause like maybe they're just not ready yet. Maybe they just haven't had that role that, man, I need to try harder. And it's going to take time, but I'm willing to wait that time until you really feel like I really want to test myself, you know?
Now, a lot of people don't know that you have trained quite a bit in the gi. And I know that you got your blue belt from a different academy where you had to train for a while just because of a distance to another academy that you couldn't go to anymore, correct?
Yeah. I was with Tim Planet, and Eddie ended up having some type of legal issues, and he ended up moving to a gym that was pretty far, Burbank. And I trained there for about 4 months, but it was just too far from where I lived at, almost like 2 hours. I ended up going to Paragon. Shout out to all my Paragon people. Sensei Frangia. Shout out to Henry Aiken. Henry Aiken was a guy that was a big part of my growth. Jeff Glover, Bill Cooper. There's so many. Uday's a black belt from Hollywood Jiu-Jitsu Club, Paragon affiliate. Really big part of my Jiu-Jitsu career. But yeah, I definitely feel like the gi was great to me. I don't have anything bad to say about the gi. I think it's rough. For me to do so much no-gi on my fingers, oh my God. And on my lower back too. Sometimes when people are grabbing that belt grip, man, that pressure just gives me such like problems, man, in the gi. But besides that, I have a total fun time in the gi. Man, when you get those pistol grips, or when you get those like crazy dog grips on the pants, that's the best grip in the world.
What makes a great jiu-jitsu instructor?
I feel like the instructor, it really depends on what style of instructor he is. I feel like every style of instructor could be good. Myself, I feel Eddie has one of the better styles of instructing to me because he's a funny comedian, friendly guy, and that's always appeasing. People love to laugh. He's funny, but he's serious, especially on the guys that take competition and jiu-jitsu serious. He's serious on us. But it's definitely a mixture of being compassionate and just honest and friendly, being friendly. But when you're more of a militant coach like myself, I feel like when I get on the mats, there's nothing funny to me. That's probably the issue. Like, I've been on the mats for war, you know what I'm saying? Fighting off, high level black belts. Even if you're here for self defense, or if you're here to get into shape, I want you to get those goals. I do want, and we are going to get to those goals, and that's my motto. We're going to do exactly what you want it to do. We're going to do it the proper, safe, and efficient way. Sometimes I feel like that style is not necessarily for everyone, but I feel like everyone really does well with the style, though, personally. In my history of students, I feel like the students who get really good, I feel like that power of getting so good is so much on their psyche. They got so good, and I think it kind of just like overwhelms them because there's so much of jiu-jitsu. And I just feel like when you get so good so fast, it is pretty overwhelming, and I think that's a part of jiu-jitsu I've learned. Like, all right, we got to break these things down. I want to break these things down slowly to students and really let them love every part of jiu-jitsu, like the guard retention, the passing, the lockdown, the leg locks, the close guard. Sometimes we just brush past all these games when we just can really talk about the topic.
What does your recovery process look like?
I'm huge on vitamins. I usually have my blueberries frozen. That's how I start my day. I probably eat around like 2. I like to work out in the morning too. So like, usually if I don't go to Eddie's in the morning, I'll do kettlebells in the morning. And if I can't, get to kettlebells, I'll try to, get to a yoga session in the morning. That's always good. But I do love acupuncture. So anytime I get hurt, I'm already to the road to acupuncture, because I feel acupuncture could take the pain away. So now I can focus on rehabbing the mobility of whatever happened, or healing the scar of whatever happened. Some people believe it, some people don't. To each is their own. It's fine. And now that I do so many hip stretches, I got a lot of hip stretches now and a lot of like knee mobility stretches, I rarely have lower back pain now. And I'm huge on ice bath as well. Every 2 months, I'll try to definitely like ice bath myself, or try to ice bath one of my friends who has one at their house. That's always really, really good. I don't know about every other day. It's like a competition for me. It's so brutal. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm sweating before I'm doing it. I'm nervous. It's really like a black belt about to tap you. Like, you get so nervous. I don't know what it is, but it's amazing for the body. I cannot stress to you enough.
So what do you think students should be studying off the mats, or researching, or or do you even ascribe to that?
So I do think students should have an Instagram or have a YouTube so they could easily look up the things senseis or their coaches are talking about. Yo, we're doing bullfighter pass today. Hey, coach, I'm having a hard time with the bullfighter pass. Hey, dude, you should get home, eat some food, hydrate, clean up, and you should watch some YouTube on the bullfighter pass. Gi and no gi. Because the details are different, but one of them might convey to you. See, I always tell the students to watch both. Like, jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu to me. I'm a no-gi guy, and I love jiu-jitsu. So, you want to do it in the gi, we can do it in the gi. You want to do it in the no-gi, we can do it no-gi. We can do it with the Sambo Kirkta on as well. It's great. I definitely feel like jiu-jitsu is just jiu-jitsu. You should study as much as you can, just like basketball players, just like tennis players. You think they don't study the best basketball players and tennis players in the world? They do. But just watching a match can literally change the way you think about jiu-jitsu and look at jiu-jitsu. But I always try to tell people, all right, so let's look up a jiu-jitsu guy that has your body type and you study him. When you see your students or your friends, you're like, man, you got a game just like Keenan Cornelius. I always kind of do that with my students. Like, man, he kind of has a body type like JT Torres. So like, I'll have him study that guy that has his body type. And then boom, he starts to understand jiu-jitsu that much easier. It is real. You kind of have to let them understand it for themselves at their own pace, right? I felt like with me, I like the way Eddie taught me, but I felt like he could have been harder on me. No, get that bet, do that again. And he was like that, but not all the time. Maybe when I got to my brown belt, black belt, he was more like that. But as a purple belt, I wish he could have hit the gas on me a little bit, because I like the aggressive coaching. I think I get the benefit of it. I'm a competitor. Not everyone is a competitor, and not everyone has that competitive mindset. but I definitely think you could evolve it and you could learn to have that competitive mindset.
As an instructor, a sensei, how are you keeping current? How do you keep your sword sharp, so to speak?
I teach open mat, so when black belts pop up for open mat, I get to scrap with the black belts there. But I also train Tuesday, Thursday in the morning with Eddie, so I get to catch 5 or 6 black belt rolls. And then I like to do strength and conditioning, kettlebells Tuesday, Thursday, if I don't go to class. And I'm always trying to stretch with my students, do my movement, my yoga, every day. I have to do it every day or I'll literally break down. Every day I have to do at least 30 minutes of yoga. And I'll just bust out of a Shavasana flow and just, really relax my body. I feel like it just makes my day a little bit more smoother.
Anything else like off the mat in terms of like study or film study or anything?
I study everybody. So all my competitors, all my rivals, I study everybody. All your students, all your coaches, all your history, everybody. BJJ Fanatics loves me.
Can you tell me a time that you wanted to quit and why?
The only reason I ever wanted to quit jiu-jitsu was because maybe at one time guys were going through a wingworm phase at one of the gyms I was going to. And, I had to lay the hammer down on these guys about hygiene and about being an adult, just being a clean guy. And I just felt the dudes just had staph and wingworm and they were still training. And I just had to lay the hammer on these guys. And I told these guys, I'm not going to do jiu-jitsu. This is what it entails. Because I'm just a clean guy. I get weirded out by things really quickly, especially when it comes to, yuck. But I love animals. I pick up dog crap and, but when it comes to humans and, being nasty, it just kind of creeps me out. That's why I have tons of hygiene rules at my gym. The women love it. I actually have a decent amount of women at my gym. And they love it because it's so clean. The guys are forced to smell good. And the women too, I definitely feel like that's the only time I was going to ever quit jiu-jitsu because guys are just so disgusting. Lack of hygiene, lack of respect. And that's what I mean by no rules. It's no holes barred in the gym and there's no control. I don't like any culty behavior. I don't like anything that, this is our clique. I don't like that. I don't allow that in the gym. We're one big clique. I definitely feel like we all want to do our own thing at times, but I feel like that's the part about being a team player is learning how to be a team player. You're going to get the chance to do your own thing, but right now we got to be a team player.
Your media. I love your YouTube channel. I love your IG and stuff too. Can you talk about your YouTube has some videos on there, a lot of good quality videos. Talk about that.
Oh yeah, that's actually Coach K, Kirsten Kuhor. That's my lady. Shout out to her. I love you. Yeah, we actually want to put out more, more technique. I know a lot of people have been asking. We definitely work hard on just trying to make it look good for everyone and trying to show what Dark Arts is really about. And it's definitely about good atmosphere, high level drills, focus, humility, and safety. Just big on safety. You're not going to get hurt at my gym. If you're doing things correctly, you're not going to get hurt at my gym. You're going to have a great time. If you don't know how to roll, you're not going to be rolling. That type of confidence has to be built up. And if I throw you out there, just a big chance you're going to get guillotined. And then now you're not going to come back. I definitely feel like once we can just build our students up, and that's why I love the YouTube and the IG because it lets us post videos of what we do in class. So students could get more reassured. Oh yeah, I was doing that right. And it's funny how they ask questions about technique they already know. Man, I did not catch this detail in that video, coach. And I'm like, oh really? And I'm glad you see it in the video though. Sometimes people are kind of weird with recording them. Some students can be weird, but I think it's really good for not necessarily me all the time, but for students to sometimes record themselves so they could see the way they look. I say this all the time. Look, guys, jiu-jitsu is an art. In my class, think of this as a competitive art class and you guys all have your white sheet out, right? And I'm walking around and we have what we want you to draw right here. And I'm just walking around checking you out. And this aggressive art class I'm talking about was an art class I was in. And she was the spiciest teacher I've ever met. She showed us all how to draw. Man, she really did. She poured her heart out into that class. And that's what Dark Arts is about. I pour my heart out in every session. Every session that I do, I write down ahead of time. Every class. I have millions of notebooks filled.
So let's talk about your instructionals too. I know you have one on, if not more, Jiu-Jitsu X as well.
Yeah, so I have a instructional on Jiu-Jitsu X with that's my pyramid DVD. If you're a closed guard player, guys, man, do not miss that. I'm telling you, straight gold throughout there. And then I have a movement DVD for BJJ Fanatics, and then I have a Dark Thoughts Volume 1 on BJJ Fanatics as well. That's like basically a leg lock counter DVD. Like, so how to counter all the new age leg lock exchanges and how to smash and take the back and get your submissions and stay safe.
Your thoughts on the future of jiu-jitsu? Where do you see it going?
It's going in the right direction right now. I definitely like all the online teaching. The only thing that really I don't like is like the steroid use. I'm not a big fan of pushing that to students, and it just doesn't show the confidence in you as the instructor or the person who's doing it, because it just doesn't show that you had confidence in yourself in the first place. And for me, like, if I'm competing, like, I want to be the cleanest guy out there. You know, I'm doing this jiu-jitsu championship, or this win is for me. I did it, not some enhanced drug, just me, you know, and that's what's going to bring people to me, because they could feel this came from strictly me. I hate to see students dabble in it or talk about it or be interested in, you know, steroids of any sort. I think that's the only ugly thing I dislike about jiu-jitsu. But I mean, besides that, I think it's going up. I definitely think I would love to see it in the Olympics, like no gi and gi, but preferably no gi. I think we can get there. I think we are more exciting than a lot of these sports. I just feel like we just need a Joe Rogan to explain it, you know, at a high level.
Can you actually expand on your relationship with John Jacques Machado? How did you meet, and what's your relationship now with him?
You know, obviously that's Sensei, Master Eddie Bravo's his sensei, his coach. I met him when I was a blue belt. I felt like since I was under Master Eddie Bravo and I was like his right-hand man, you know, I need to know my history. So I went out to John Jacques and I just started training with him for probably about 2 years almost with Eddie in the gi. And it was amazing. You know, the energy is so different over there. In the beginning, I was kind of like an outsider, but over time, you know, people were really friendly. John Jacques is just so masterful. Oh my gosh. He can make the simplest mount escape so complex, but he can also make the most complex armbar so simple. He just has this ability. And like for us in the 90s, man, he's like Broly. This is like a Dragon Ball Z correlation. He's like Broly, man, for us. Like he could turn the skies purple once he gets serious rolling. That's how good he is. And like I've rolled with him probably like 3 or 4 times, and all the rolls with him are like a blur. On 1 minute I'm doing good, and the next minute I'm trapped and I'm tapping. He's always giving me, you know, feedback. If I ever need it, I could always message him and just see, like, am I on the right path? He's definitely like my guiding stick. Like if I'm doing something wrong, if I'm having an issue, I'll contact Eddie Bravo. I'll contact a Master John Jacques, especially if I'm having problems with like the gym or students or just life, you know. He's always been like a big mentor for me, along with Eddie Bravo. They're some of the nicest guys I've ever met. It's funny that like a more militant coach like myself would come out of 2 nice guys. That's what makes me laugh.
Yeah. It does fascinate me to hear all this out of, because people always, you know, when they associate like 10th Planet, they always think, freewheeling, anything goes kind of thing. And with you, I'm hearing a whole different thing. You are sensei, Marvin.
Yes.
You're not even like, and then all the rules you were talking about, you know, it's just very different sort of, I think, assumption that people have.
Yeah, because a lot of these places are 10th Planet gyms. I'm a 10th Planet Academy. So we have rules, we have regulations, we have policies, right? If you don't follow them, we're probably not the gym for you. It's pretty simple. I don't want to sway people the wrong way. If you actually want to have a safe environment in jiu-jitsu and have fun and get good and actually train with training partners who actually don't want to hurt you, this is the place to be for sure, where I'm at. And you get to roll with a high-level black belt all the time. And for me, I feel like when students roll with black belts, you kind of absorb my power. I've had students literally roll with me one day and then hit me with my move the next day, cleaner than I hit them with it. And I'm like, whoa. I have to turn that black belt mode on, and we have to go after them, you know? But I definitely feel like that's a big thing. A lot of gyms, their students aren't even rolling with their black belt. Not saying black belts don't deserve to be hurt or not rolling, but when you're doing jiu-jitsu, you need that reassurance to roll with your sensei, to roll with your black belt, you know? And I definitely feel like, you know, here at 10th Planet Dark Arts, you're going to get to roll with me. You know, it might not be first day, it might not be second day, but you're going to eventually get to roll with me. You just got to, you know, you got to build up those building blocks. You know, you got to make those Legos to get to that certain level. A good analogy I really like with Sean Applegate is like that pull-up bar. It doesn't matter if you're a blue belt, you just lost your job and you're just having a rough day and you're going into the gym. Just because something happened in your regular life doesn't mean you're not a blue belt anymore. You're still a blue belt. And when you get in that gym, people are looking at you like a blue belt, and you're going to have to pull yourself up to that blue belt bar, or you're going to even have a rougher day. And that's what I love about jiu-jitsu. It makes you have to suck up whatever's going on in your life, and you have to just go in there and, live in the moment.
Marvin, what blows me away about you is just your diversity in training teachers and partners that you've had, and even the competition, the elite competition that you've had, being able to experience and feel these people.
Dude, I couldn't even tell you if I was a white belt and I was probably walking up to my boy Curtis for the first time. I could not tell you all the stuff that I've went through that it would have happened. I'm a big fan of, obviously, staying technical and, staying inside the lines. But in life, you're definitely going to have to take a risk. I'm not scared to take a risk. I felt like jiu-jitsu was a risk, and luckily it came to. In my life, it is what it is today. Like, I remember being, a kid that went to school, and I was toting guns at one time before I went to school because I lived so far away from the school. There was numerous gangs in the midst of that area. Going from literally shooting at kids my age just to get to school to being a first degree black belt under Master Eddie Bravo is not too shabby for me. And it's surreal sometimes for me. It's so surreal. And it's a blessing. So many people helped me get here. I did not get here myself. I should just be thanking the world, and God himself, because everyone around me's blessed me so much. It's just still been an amazing life, and I still feel like it's going to be an amazing life. I'm excited to get back to competition. Something about the gym life, it's not going to go perfect in 2 years. It's probably going to get better in 5 to 6 years, but I'm definitely trying to get out and start competing like within the next year and a half. I definitely want to do at least something. I'm getting the itch back to just smash. I see a lot of holes in people's games. I feel like I could take them out. But I mean, I'm more of a business guy as well. So if you want me to fight, you contact me, you pay my fee, and I scrap with whoever thee be. But I feel like sometimes promotions don't want to pay. They want you to pay for flight, hotel, and then give you $500 to compete. Well, it's $500 to fly, and it's $500 almost to stay in a hotel. So let's just be reasonable. I'd rather you just pay my fee, and then I can pay for the rest of my own stuff.
What is Dark Arts Training Camp? Because you have Dark Arts Academy.
Dark Arts Training Camp is a system of camps that I run all around the world that focus on my style of drilling and my style of technique. And it's really to give back to jiu-jitsu. A lot of people aren't getting the technique they want. And I try to be able to go everywhere so people could meet somebody they wanted to meet and, just kind of vibe with me. And we actually train really hard. My camps are actually real deal. They're not traincations. They're training camps. We have cardio, we have live drills, we have hella drills. My training camps are 3 days, 4 sessions, 1 big open mat. So we get to the nitty gritty fast. And every white belt that I probably have did a training camp with is a blue belt now. After that training camp, they hit the gas on the love, the passion of the sport, and the community they found at the training camp. They hung with people they never knew, and they had a blast. And we go out to eat and just talk like casual human beings, I feel like it just brings that urgency and that passion into some grapplers. It's a good experience to witness other jiu-jitsu. I like to go to these other places, go to a different class. I get to witness other teachers, how they talk to their students. And I'm like, man, that did not sound good. Do I sound like that? I've had some really big mind-altering experiences with different coaches because I talk to every sensei, every coach. Am I doing this wrong? Should I be saying this? Sometimes I feel like this, and they give me their honest opinion, and I'm mind blown. It's completely opposite of mine. So I'm always trying to learn. It doesn't matter if it hurts my feelings. A lot of things are going to hurt my feelings in life, and I'm learning to control that. Bushido.
You're a hell of an entrepreneur. You're just it seems like you've got all these irons in the fire. What has staved off your competition as well? And can you talk about entrepreneurism in general?
Obviously, a lot of people in jiu-jitsu are, they're low on funds. A lot of people who stay in it and actually become goods are usually the gym rats, who obviously didn't pay, but they cleaned and they helped, and they were a huge part of the jiu-jitsu community. But I mean, I just felt like I'm watching Master Eddie Bravo doing seminars, him making his life and his passion his moneymaker. And I've always been a guy that I was always selling DVDs, selling candy. I've always been a guy, if I have to make money, I'm gonna make it. Always trying to make money the right way. I feel like everyone should be an entrepreneur. I feel like everyone should be out there hustling no matter what it is, as long as it's not, against the law and it's keeping people safe. I think you should just get out there. How are you gonna make any money if you're not out there trying to figure out a way to do it? I'm trying to get to the point where I'm making money while I sleep. That's really the goal, because it's getting harder. It's getting harder out here. So it's like, we got to take that extra initiative. I don't necessarily want to have to go back to a 9 to 5 because I feel like my passion is way more powerful than that. I just got to master my teaching. I got to master the business aspect of it just as much as I've almost mastered jiu-jitsu, and still trying to master jiu-jitsu.
Who are some jiu-jiteros that are exciting you right now?
I like the Pedigo guys. Shout out to the Pedigo guys. Those guys are beasts. I love their drilling aspect and their energy, and their techniques are really clean and aggressive and great instruction. And shout out to Andy Varela. He had a great DVD. I love his passing DVD. Really dope. Andy Varela's an animal. Great attacks. Beautiful jiu-jitsu. Blackout jiu-jitsu. Blackout grappling. I love the cradle stuff. I've always been a cradle lover. Fedor, 10-planet brown belt. Eddie Bravo, he's an animal. Elijah Carlton. That's a bad boy. He's a killer. Shout out to him. He's a monster. Shout out to Renee Souza, animal, new black belt. PJ Barch, he's always on a tear. Abu's at 10-planet HQ2 is another brown belt that's really dope. I would like to see a lot more gyms. Definitely think about implementing a movement class to your program. I think it's very, very, very vital to jiu-jitsu because we could lower all the injuries in jiu-jitsu just with one class, teaching people how to front shrimp, back roll, Granby, front Granby, side Granby, break fall, side fall. There's a lot of things that they need to know before they even touch jiu-jitsu. If they could do the movements, once they learn the movements, in movement class, you can connect the movements together, like arm drag scoots to combat sit-ups to Granby. And then now that they can connect two movements, when they get to jiu-jitsu, they can already connect the jiu-jitsu. And it's that much easier to convey to them. And then now they're having a great time. They're learning, they're getting it. It's like we got to literally clean up that big gray area of students just getting thrown into classes, thrown into open mats. Like some guys can do it, but not everyone. If you don't want them to get hurt and you want them to stay,
Yeah, I think that's huge, and I love that's been the emphasis or an emphasis of the show, of part of your message, because you're right. We've had a couple of movement guys on the show and PTs on the show, and they mentioned the same thing, how important it is not only to be flexible or whatever, but that end of range strength that movement can give you. Those chameleon, those crawls, and all that stuff that people can't do. Man, it can only improve your jiu-jitsu
so much, especially for older people. Like my movement class started from people who were injured, all the jiu-jitsu people who have injuries. All my older people.
You got older people? That's good.
I got tons of older guys. They're my biggest riders because they appreciate the movement class. Man, coach, I don't feel like I want to make it to jiu-jitsu class today. I'm just going to catch a movement class. Hey, man, I'll see you in movement. Sometimes you're beat up. You could just slide by movement. You're going to get a workout in. And that's just something I want all gyms to just kind of like incorporate because it just makes it easier for the students, and the students are going to love you for it. Trust me.
Well, Marvin, where can the listener get more information about you and everything that's happening?
You can catch me on at Marvin Castelle 10P on IG, and you can catch me at 10P Dark Arts Academy on IG as well. Everyone's welcome to come by and take a free class or jump on our open mats. You guys are all welcome. And you can also catch me at Dark Arts training camps. We do training camps all over the world. You guys can definitely get one at your gym at any time. It's fun. It's a great environment. And we also sell rash guards at our training camps as well. Oos.
Awesome. So everyone, I am Adolfo Foronda. You are listening or watching Forever White Belt. Thanks so much again. Give us the whole thumbs up, subscribe, and the whole thing on all the socials, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you may be consuming this. Marvin, thank you so much for your time. It was such a tremendous honor on the show. I was really looking forward to this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. Again, appreciate the love, and I hope you happy training.
Thank you.
Oos.
All right. See you guys next time.